Welcome to the Amplifyr Podcast. My name is Aidan Hennebry. I'm your host. Amplifyr exists at the intersection of marketing, sales, business, pricing, leadership, and so much more. In this episode, we're sitting down with financial professional Calvin Van Harten as he transitions from a full-time teaching career into that of a financial professional. We cover a lot of sales and marketing perspectives, especially from someone who is relatively new to their new industry. It's a really interesting episode, a lot of cool perspectives. I think you're going to dig it. Let's get into it. Calvin Van Harten, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here, Aidan.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here. So for anyone that is watching this from your audience, they may know you first and foremost as a teacher. And so I'm wondering, can you give us a bit of background on who you are and what you do and maybe how you've gone from teaching to where you are right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming out of university, I went off to Japan to teach for 2 years. That was a great experience, and I eventually came back to Canada through BC, taught there for a year, and then I've taught for another about 12 years in Ontario, bouncing from a couple of different Christian schools. I loved it. I felt called to it by God. There's no doubt about it that that's where I was meant to be for those years. But as the years went along, I started to want to change, and I started to look to other avenues to bring income and provide for the family. So I moved into some real estate ownership and property management that way. I've also moved into, I'm now the Redemption Kids director at our church here in St. Thomas, and I'm working in life insurance as well.
Fascinating. Okay, so from teaching, that's a bit of a departure. Can you maybe tell me why the switch? Why did you move from teaching to where you are now?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. I think one of the biggest ones is that a family was on the horizon. Teaching takes up so much of my time. I love it. It's a passion. It's wonderful. It's very exciting, but the amount of time that it takes from me in a day is incredible, and I come back exhausted. I'm kind of an introvert person, so as I go to school and I'm surrounded by tons and tons of people, I lose a lot of energy, and I come back and I'm exhausted. I didn't want to give my family and my kids my seconds, essentially. Yep. And so there was that. And then I also wanted to make sure I was around my family a lot more. So I wanted the time to be able to do that. The insurance job that I run right now gives me that time, that freedom to reschedule things where it works out best for me. So in the future, when my kid has a soccer game, I don't have to ask anybody. I can just schedule something at a different time, go to that soccer game and come back, which is beautiful. So there's kind of that piece is the time and the energy that I wanted to give to my family. And then number two is there's no cap on the finances, so I can work as hard as I want to in order to bring in money that's valued based on that. So I love that. I love those kind of pieces of it. That's what brought me in.
I love that. Well, yeah, I mean, being essentially purely commission-based, yeah, like you said, how hard you work is maybe how much money that you make in a year. And you are an incredibly hardworking dude, and so I have high hopes that will benefit you well. So cool. On the financial services side of things, which is probably what will make the bulk of our conversation today, but we'll see what happens. You're an interesting guy with a lot of different interests, so we'll see what happens. But anywho, on the financial side of things, can you maybe just walk us through what services that you sell and kind of what different ways that you help people with all of your financial knowledge?
Yeah, sure. So in the financial side of things, the number one thing that I work with people on is life insurance generally. But with life insurance, there's a couple different avenues that we can take. So one is general term type insurance where down the road, if something happens to the spouse, a lump sum gets paid out. And that's why someone would want that in order to give that spouse a comfortable lifestyle afterwards and pay off debts and et cetera. The other option is a more permanent type of insurance. And the beauty of that is there's only two places inside of Canada where you are able to invest money tax-free. One is a TFSA, a tax-free savings account. So you can do it in that, but there's a limit on it. There's a certain amount of money that you can put into that and get it tax-free. The other is in life insurance. So a life insurance policy is also invested in tax-free. So some people come to me wanting insurance for the purpose of their spouse. Other people are coming to me telling me they want life insurance, but actually they're looking for a tax-free investment account. So life insurance is kind of the one area. Then we also do registered education savings plans, RESPs, and retirement savings plans, RRSPs. We do first-time home buyer savings accounts, various registered accounts like that. And then I do general investments as well with people's money.
That's a long laundry list of stuff. That's awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong. I imagine when you are meeting with people to talk about those services, that for the average person, that can be a bit of an overwhelming thing. And I think you even said in there that some people will come to you expecting to buy one product, and really you, through the powers of deduction, are able to help them figure out that actually what they're looking for is something different. So maybe can you kind of walk me through, when you're meeting with clients for the first time, or would-be clients, how do you kind of work through really what they are looking for and kind of help them figure out if what you think they're looking for maybe is different than what they think they are looking for?
Yeah, so they often come to me with an expectation of what they're looking for initially. So they come with some kind of vague idea that we want insurance, or we want an RRSP, or we want something, but they're not really sure exactly how much they want, or what they want, or what services I offer. So most times I'll start with talking to them, find out what it is that they want, kind of spend some time listening to hear what they're talking about. And then I kind of give a list of the stuff that I work through, and I explain each of those things so they understand what we do offer. And from there, we kind of start to make a plan and a decision. We often go through their finances. That's helpful to them to help figure out, like, do they have the money for investments? Are they over leveraged right now? Do they have too much debt at the moment and they can't afford these sort of things? Is the huge insurance policy that they want to take out actually something they can financially afford? So I usually start with hearing what it is that they want, looking at the different things that we offer together and explaining them, and then going through their finances together to figure out if what they want is actually feasible.
So that's interesting, because what I feel like I hear you saying is that you don't necessarily just take your clients at face value. If they say, okay, we want an RESP, or we want life insurance or something like that, but you are actually working through a process with them to help them actually figure out what it is they want. And what I think is interesting about that is certainly kind of more in the sales world, there's been this kind of shift over the past number of years. I don't know, maybe a decade or two. It kind of depends on who you ask and what your approach is to sales, I suppose. But anyways, moving from where salespeople are moving from being kind of order takers and just doing the thing that the customer asks them for, even if they have money in their hand, instead of just taking their money as quickly as they can, moving towards becoming a trusted advisor, where where the salesperson is not just kind of, like I said, taking orders, but they are actually doing some diagnosing and understanding the greater goals of the client and trying to help them get there, and understanding that, again, sometimes the client doesn't actually know what vehicle maybe to put their resources into in order to get the outcome that they want, right? So am I correct in hearing you say that your role is more than just, okay, you want life insurance right away, how much do you want to pay? Okay, great. And that you're moving towards more of actually digging into people's goals? Is that true?
Yeah, I would say they come to me with an idea of what they want, but they don't fully understand what's offered. They don't fully understand what they have. So we'll often look through their current policies that they have right now. And sometimes they have a policy that's a strong policy and it's not beatable right now. And I let them know that. But so they do come to us, and it's important to kind of see what they have already, what's available to them, and explain that. So I would agree that they come with an idea of what they want, and I kind of help them form a direction and move towards that thing that they want.
I imagine that would take, in order to do that effectively, I suppose, you would need to establish a decent amount of trust with your clients, right? So maybe is that something that's on your mind when you're meeting with clients? Is like, hey, does this person trust me? Because, what I imagine is, especially, so I'm thinking for me when I take my car to the mechanic, okay? I don't know a whole lot about cars. I'm like a fairly handy guy. You are as well. There's a lot of things in my life that if something breaks, I'll at least take a swing at fixing it myself before I rush off to buy a new one or take it in somewhere to be repaired, right? Cars is one of those places that from very early on, I was just like, nope, this is one of the problems. I don't care to learn it. I'll just throw money at it, right? The danger with that, of course, is that me as a consumer, I can be taken advantage of by someone who knows that I'm ignorant and sees an opportunity to make money, right? I'm curious if you ever feel like, as the professional in a financial professional services situation, if you feel maybe that hesitation or resistance from your clients, and so if you do, what is kind of your process to show them that you are not some unscrupulous guy who's just going to take their money as quickly as you can, but that you're actually on their side? You want to earn their trust. You want to keep it. How do you navigate that with someone maybe that you don't know super well?
Yeah. I think a lot of the business that I'm getting right now is through referrals of people that I know. And so the people that come to me are through somebody else that trusts me and knows me and has stories about how they've had success through me. So most of the time they're already coming with that trust a little bit established already. A lot of it, though, once they come in, is throwing them hard, clear numbers of examples of, if they take this path, this is what's going to happen to their money in the future. And if you have something clear, printed out, and hard, I think that gives a bit of trust to them. I'm not vaguely telling them that their money is going to grow triple over the year or something ridiculous like that. I'm giving them a clear example of how that looks. But I do think trust is a super important piece of this whole puzzle. If someone has $500,000 they want to invest with me, why are they going to invest it with me, this guy that they might not know? It's very important that they have some kind of reason to trust me, and I have to give that to them. So definitely.
I like that. So, you're kind of saying, okay, you try to show people hard numbers. You try to show them, if you invest your money in this way, this is kind of the outcome that you're going to get. I would have to assume that there is more to the sales process for you and kind of building that trust with clients than just showing them an Excel sheet and saying, here, sign on the dotted line, right? So how do you balance kind of the human aspect of selling and making connections with people in a genuine way, which you're a very genuine guy? How do you kind of balance that with also some of the just like cold hard facts of, here's your money and anyone in my position could do this for you, and I just hope that you choose me to do it? I don't know if that made sense, that question, but
yeah, like so how do I get them to trust me further beyond just the cold hard facts?
Yeah,
is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's through the referrals that people come to me with. It's through stories that I give them. So as we talk and we develop a bit of a relationship ahead of time, we usually spend a bit of time doing that. I come up with some stories that have happened in the past that mimic their scenarios, and I think that's helpful to them in understanding that this has happened in the past. They have people that they can contact that have dealt with me in the past. They can also reach out to them and check to make sure that I'm not this deceitful, tricky kind of guy. And so I think that's the main way I come across.
I like it. So you're not just like high pressure trying to get people to sign before you leave their house for the first time, and that's good. That's good. I think that's probably a valuable thing when it comes to finding, especially, we kind of talked before we started filming about how you are in general fairly new to the industry, at least just in terms of some of the really lengthy careers that people have. Just a couple of years of kind of doing some of these exams, and I mean, I feel like that's not even fair to say in some ways, because part of why you're such an interesting guy and I was excited to have you on the show is because you have done a lot of different things with money on your own, right? Investing in different ways, different charities and things. And I think that, again, as you said, property maintenance or management rather, you've like flipped your own house as well. I know you haven't sold it, but you are and I mean, I guess you renoed your duplex. Yeah.
Turned it into a duplex.
That's right. Yeah. So anywho, you're an interesting guy who has done different things with money, right? And I think that gives you a level of credibility when you're meeting with people to be able to show them that, you're not some puppy dog faced, 18-year-old fresh out of school that is trying to give someone much farther along in life financial advice, right? Just like with any service or any company that sells a product or anything like that, obviously there are competitors. There are people that offer similar or the same services as you, and this is definitely to me, one of the most unique aspects of marketing in general is, especially when you have kind of a commodified product that, is something that everyone sells. How do you find a way to differentiate yourself and still have clients that are very happy with you and that, are happy to do business with you and spread your name, as we've talked about, and to do that, in a way that is, viable long-term. So I guess for you, when you are selling services essentially that other people can also sell, what is the reason that someone would choose to work with you over a competitor of yours, and how do you kind of communicate that with your clients?
Yeah, there's a natural distinction between the business that I work in and the business that most competitors work in, because we're brokers rather than representing a specific insurance company. So just in that natural section of things, people will come to me because I have a whole host of companies that I can work from. Our business is free. Our services are free to the clients that come to us. And doesn't cost them anything. And then we look through a whole host of businesses, companies to accommodate the needs that they have. So right away, naturally, I think that lends to people coming to me rather than to a specific insurance company that way. Apart from that, though, because within my space, we have about 70,000 people inside of our specific brokerage that work on this. So there's other brokerages as well that do the same thing. And your question to me is, in that particular setting, what separates you from other people? And that's a difficult question because we are selling the same thing. And over time, I think the people who are honest and trustworthy and have a history of that, they are able to stick it out for the long term. The people who are not doing that get weeded out over time. It's very easy in the business here that we're in to just look for the biggest commission and the biggest sale and to push people towards something that would actually get me the biggest commission. And so it's very important that you're constantly staying honest that way. Otherwise, you start to get the bad name that way. So I think a piece of it is just a history of honesty, a history of trustworthiness that will bring people to me in that case.
I love that. I think that's kind of an interesting idea to tuck into in terms of, again, taking advantage of people when maybe they would be unaware of it, right? And so for you, just as is true maybe with anyone that is a business person that sells a service or a product of any kind, there's always an opportunity to upsell someone to something that they don't necessarily need or want or maybe even can afford, right? Have you ever seen, has a client come to you yet? If it hasn't happened yet, I'm sure it will. Or do you know any stories maybe of a colleague that's experienced something where someone has been taken advantage of maybe? And how would you start to kind of help people maybe untangle the mess if that's been the case?
Yeah. Just recently I was talking with a lady who she lives in Toronto and she's paying a huge amount of rent on her house. She has a really expensive car insurance. She has a child with a disability that's expensive, and she is a single mom, and I know that she is struggling a little more financially already. And so I've talked to her about the policy that she has. She has this large permanent policy that's costing her something like $120 a month right now, which she's fairly young, and so a policy should be much cheaper than that. I was able to look and see what we could offer her. I can offer her more money on a term policy for about $20 a month. And so that's saving her $100, which may not seem like a lot, but $100 a month over time, that adds up. And with someone who's really struggling to make ends meet already, that $100 can be gone towards debt that she has on her credit card, towards the mortgage, towards other things. So that's just one example that I've come across recently of someone that I think has been duped in the past, got this really expensive insurance that pays out less money, and she shouldn't have taken it. And so I'm working with her to kind of move her over into something that makes more sense to her.
That's interesting. One of the things that we almost maybe glossed over before, and I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about, is the reason that you got into this beyond just, some of the reasons of, kind of the work-life balance and how that's going to benefit your family in the short and long term. I imagine that wanting to help people, I read this in a book. There's this book called Drive by Daniel H. Pink, I think is his name. Really fascinating dude. The book that he wrote it just has so many fantastic, he references a lot of different studies that talks about what motivates us as human beings. And he talks about all these different things. And he describes the kind of crux of the book is describing internal motivation and how you meet some people that, their interest goes far beyond just a really big paycheck. They are genuinely doing work or doing things out of this innate sense of responsibility or motivation from within them, right? I think of you as a dude that would qualify under that. What I would love to hear you talk about is maybe more kind of the purpose side of what got you into this, because in the book what he talks about is how for people that have this intrinsic motivation, purpose, and feeling like they are contributing to something that is more meaningful than just getting a really big paycheck for themselves is important to a lot of people. And I know that that's certainly important for you. So I would love to hear you talk about, to use the cheesy, like, make the world a better place or whatever. But I think some of that is not entirely untrue. And I would love to hear more about that, about what motivates you to be in the position that you're in, and how you want to help people with their finances. Yeah,
that's a great question. Because you're right. I'm an administrative person, and so all the forms I have to fill out, there's some amount of I get this kind of high off of getting a little check mark off of finishing some things, but it is not what motivates me to actually do this stuff. What I love is when I see a client, like I just described to you, come to me who is struggling in their finances, and I'm able to help them save a little bit of money. It's another thing that we do often is restructure debt that they have so that they have less payments that they have to make. Just knowing that their family's in a better spot as a result of this, of a conversation with me that's kind of been free. It has been free, completely free. And now they're making more money as a result of that. They come back with better cash flow. And I know that has a big impact on their families. Just as another example, I'm working with a couple right now on an RESP transfer, an education savings plan transfer. They were with a company that, again, I believe was taking advantage of them, had them invested in very poor, low quality investments. And they were looking to have, by the time their kid turned 18, the company statement said they would have about $37,000 in that account. Now the kid's 10, and I'm taking that RESP from that account, the company, and with me, that kid will have about $50,000 to $55,000 in that account, which is a big jump. And had they started with me, it would have been around $70-something thousand. So I just say that to say, I love seeing where people have been duped and then being able to bring them back on track to doing well. And so the rest of their kids are also going to be with me, and that will help get them where they need to be. That's the part that motivates me. That's the part that gets me excited when I'm helping families get in better financial positions.
One of the things you've highlighted it here when you're talking about helping people improve cash flow, that especially is kind of this more immediate benefit that your services provide. But certainly when you're talking about investments and, even life insurance and kind of the comfort and safety and protection that you have from a service like that, long term, of course, investing, talking about exponential growth and things like that, right? That is really where the difference between kind of a mediocre financial professional such as you, or a really phenomenal one, like a really phenomenal financial professional, that's where those differences are really going to come through as well, right? So that misconception of just okay, we're just here to try to get your monthly payment to be as comfortable as possible, versus really helping them see that it is both things. It's trying to have what is a comfortable financial investment right now, but then also build up to what is going to be, will have been a great financial investment over the course of the long term, right? Are there any other misconceptions or maybe balancing acts that you kind of need to have when you are helping clients work through what is the best thing for their situation? And have you come up against needing to maybe make a recommendation to someone that they weren't ready to hear, or that they maybe disagreed with, or was just counter to what they came to you expecting to find?
Nothing huge in that area jumps to mind, really. Good. There's often people that come not realizing I can help them in a certain area, but come to me for a different reason. And so that's happened quite a few times. They come to me for some RRSP, and I'm able to show them that their investments in this other area is not doing what they should be doing. I can help them with those sort of things. I think one of the challenges I run into a lot actually is people in kind of the society right now, they want instant, fast growth on their investments all the time, and they're imagining they can get it tripled in a year, and that's what they come with that expectation, because we just have this instant desire to have everything we want right now. And so it's managing expectations is the one thing that I have to work on quite a bit with them, and saying, hey, if you're planning to only invest for a year, you got to really consider the stock market and then how the movement of it, the up and downs that are there. And as a result, you're going to invest in something much safer than if you go for something that's 10-year kind of timeline. So it's managing expectations for what they want. That's what I run into a lot.
Right. We live in such a society that is instant gratification, right? I want to see things now. And for better or worse, with the spread of the internet, I think you can hear some of these unicorn stories of exactly, I tripled my investments in 3 times in 1 year. And you have to kind of explain to people that, for the average person, that's just not a reasonable goal to have, right? Are most people pretty receptive when you explain that? Like, are a lot of people pretty dead set on that when they come to you, or are people pretty open-minded when they approach you?
I would say
not to throw your clients under the bus at all here.
Not dead set, not super open-minded. I guess just coming with an expectation of this much higher rate than is really ever possible unless you've got like this unicorn sort of situation. And if those things existed, people would be selling their houses and putting everything into that because it's just incredible to be able to triple your money. Like that's nuts.
Yep.
And so I do have to explain to them why it is the way it is. And the idea of long-term investments versus short-term investments and the payoffs and the risk tolerance in each of those situations. So not open-minded, not closed to it, but just needing to be explained or re-educated a little bit about how investments kind of work.
So when you are meeting with someone and you're talking about, their goals, whether they're short-term goals, long-term goals, and particularly if you are dealing with a client, maybe that you are just like not really well suited to help, I guess. Have you come across this yet where you have had to truly put the best interests of the client before your own and make a recommendation either that they go elsewhere or just make a recommendation that what thing they maybe have in their mind that's going to accomplish their goal is not going to do that? Have you had to do that yet where you've redirected someone or kind of had to explain, okay, here's what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, it's your money and you do with it what you will? Have you had that yet?
Yeah. So, specifically, I had a business recently that came and they were going to invest $30,000 or $40,000 through me, which could have worked. I had a good plan for them, but I looked at who they're connected with and the finances that they are working with and how it's all structured and everything. And they had something really great going already that was going to benefit them at least the same level as what I was able to offer to them. I told them stick with the people who you've got because it just makes sense to do that. And we could go through a bunch of paperwork, do a lot of things, and you could come and maybe get about the same. Is that worth it? It's just not. And so I've had situations like that. I've had situations in life insurance where policies are already 10 years in and they're pretty unbeatable at that point because they were made 10 years ago when the age of the client was much younger, and so it was much cheaper, and so it's not super beatable. And the same thing, keep your policy. It's great.
How do people react when you say that? When you say like, hey, what you have is actually pretty good and I don't know that I can help you? Because I would imagine that if people are reaching out to you, they probably have a relatively good amount of intent to actually move their investments over to you. What's the response been like when you've said, hey, actually, I think you should just stay where you are? Are people thankful? Are they thrown off by that? Is that shocking to them?
Yeah, surprised. I'd say they're surprised usually because I think in today's world, if someone comes and is going to offer you money, like, why aren't you going to take it, right? Like, that's the kind of attitude that you got. But it is kind of over the long run, although right now I could make money off of them by taking their business. I think in the long run, it shows something better when you say, hey, no, you've actually got something. I won't take your money right now. I think in the future, when they start thinking of investing and they start thinking of bigger amounts of money that they're going to put someplace, they're going to say, oh, Calvin, he was trustworthy. He told me not to do it. He gave me a fair second look at the finances and said to stay back there where I was before. So surprised, but I think it's actually benefits me in the long run, if not right now.
Well, that certainly just goes right back to what you were talking about before about the importance, especially in the beginning, but really at all times, of building rapport and earning a really good reputation in order to help bring in clients, especially in some of the earliest days, right? It takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes a couple moments to destroy one, right?
For sure.
Anyone who's been on social media and seen the Coldplay concert clip would know that, how quick you can throw away your whole life and reputation. But anywho, I think that there's a misconception, right? That when you turn down a client, you are turning down that immediate money, and that can be painful, especially if you're in a situation where you are desperate for cash. But it really is kind of the difference of like penny wise, pound foolish, right? That understanding that sometimes saying no to an opportunity right now, if you genuinely cannot help that client, has absolutely the opportunity to become a much bigger opportunity for you later, where you have no idea all of the people that person might know that they might recommend you to as this really honest, solid dude, right? I think that is maybe an aspect of sales, business, whatever you want to call it, that is often overlooked because we can become so fixated on the short term and not think about the long term. Going back to that book Drive that I was talking about, he says something along the lines of how most companies, especially if they've been long established, they have these grand visions of being around for decades and decades to come, but most of them don't make financial decisions that impact anything more than the next 3 months ahead of the business. And I think that that's a really great thing for businesses, companies of any size to just be conscious of, right? It's easy to say that, oh yeah, I want to do this forever, right? Going back to the beginning of this episode, when you were talking about, okay, you want to settle into a career that you can be in for the long term, that's going to service your family for many years to come. It could be very easy, if you were not wise, to throw that away by trying to chase smaller deals right now that you know are not a very good fit, and it's going to punish you later because you're going to have not a great track record. And I'm not saying that you can't make mistakes in the beginning. Making mistakes is the cost of success. That's just part of business, right? But intentionally taking on work that you know is not a good fit for you, right? Do you have any thoughts on that? Like taking on, have you witnessed anything like that where, and maybe, it doesn't have to be exclusive to just your experience with, working as a financial professional, but working or taking on, again, maybe on the property management side of things, taking on a tenant maybe that wasn't a good fit or anything like that, when you know that maybe you should have kept searching, but it had been a couple months and you were desperate to kind of get someone in the unit. Have you experienced anything like that? What was the lesson that you took away from it?
Yeah, right now we have a vacant spot in one of our houses and we're working to get someone in there. In the past, we've had people like lining up for the doors, which has been super easy, and we had the cream of the crop there. And now we are a couple months in of not having a tenant, and we're paying the mortgage, and we're not getting anything out, any rent out of that. And so we're watching our bank accounts start to kind of dip all of a sudden, and it is motivating us to get someone in. And it's starting to be that push of, I just need that money to come from that house. But I do know there are horror stories out there all over the place of getting poor tenants in, and once that happens, it's impossible to get them out. And so it's important to keep pushing hard for that long-term gain from a positive and good tenant. We have a number of tenants in our other houses that I have spent a lot of time vetting and getting to the spot where they are, and getting the right people in at that point. And I've not had problems with them. They're wonderful. We relate super well, and it makes my life so much simpler when I could just snap a decision right now and put someone in there that is going to make a problem for me in the future. So absolutely, I've experienced that. It is not an enjoyable experience while you're waiting, but the end result is definitely worth it.
Well, and again, I mean, so much of that feels like what you do with financial services as a whole, right? Trying to help people understand the difference between good things right now and good things later, and kind of, sometimes enduring a bit of that pain. And one of the things you touched on it a bit, and maybe I would love to know if you actually have a different or a thought around kind of why maybe you have tenants or you don't have tenants lining up around the block to rent out your unit, and why you maybe did in the past. How much of, the economy and the world around has an impact on what you do, and maybe even your ability to make sales to customers, right? So going back to, okay, I want to triple my money in a year of investing or something like that. How much stuff beyond your control impacts the success of kind of what you do for your clients long term, and how do you explain that to clients when they're coming on board with you of like, hey, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is an investment. This is something that's long term and setting them up for success that way.
Yeah, great question. When I think about it, it has a huge impact in the investing world for sure. A lot of money that we're investing is often tied up in the U.S. market. And so just recently with Trump coming into power, January through March, April-ish has been pretty quite the turmoil in the market. There's been a lot of downturns in most of the funds. And so when I invest somebody in January, I did that. I invested a few people in January, and all they've seen is the downturn of the market. And you got to keep giving them faith that it's going to go back up. Look at the history. Look over the last 15, 20 years for the stuff that I've invested you in. You can see that there's these little downturns and they come with big upswings afterwards. But it's hard to get across because they're worried. They see their money that they invested start to go down and they freak out. And actually the worst case scenario is at that point when you pull it out, you have lost money. Like that's a bad direction to go. You have to keep it in for the long term to weather the storm of those sort of things. So absolutely the economy works against and for us in that area in the insurance world. In real estate, same thing. The reason people were lining up before was there was just a lack of rental units available. And so we were charging something that was reasonable at the time, and a lot of people were able to come. Now there's a lot more rental spaces available, and we've had to decrease our rent. We've had to make some changes, and people are now starting to come back again, but it's been a bit of a challenge.
And I think in businesses of any kind, right, that up and down, that unpredictability is an important thing to be upfront with your clients about, right? Not to present yourself as this miracle worker that can do anything and everything is going to go according to plan with you. And I imagine that is, again, a rapport builder with your clients, especially in the beginning, of really explaining like, hey, this is how this works, buckle up. This is not just a short-term thing, not just a quick in and out, but that you are investing you're investing your money and you are investing your time into something that will grow, and generally speaking, all conventional wisdom would point to is going to work out in the long run, but you have to have faith and trust that it's going to be the right decision. And again, I would imagine that for clients that are trying to find the right financial advisor, that would speak to and highlight the importance of hiring someone that is qualified, that knows what they're doing, that is trustworthy, that is available for when they have questions or something seems scary, that they can turn to and seek some advice from. And maybe that would even be an interesting thing to ask you about, because again, I think one of the most unique things that you bring to your career right now is the fact that you are not just like this super young buck straight out of finance school. I don't know, university, I guess that's where finance people go. But you have real world experience. You have invested your own money. You have done some things great, and I would assume some things not great. And so how much of that plays into your ability to comfort people in terms of kind of weathering the storm is to be able to draw on your own experience and really, again, bring that human element to the relationships that you build with your clients.
It does definitely provide credibility. The fact that I've invested my own money in the same places that I want other people to invest money in. So that's for sure a piece of the puzzle. And the fact that I've gone through a career already and it's been successful and it's gone well. I think that's also a helpful thing, that they can look at that and feel like he works hard at what he does and he tries to get to that spot that he needs to get to for me. They can have that kind of trustworthiness. So in those kind of scenarios, yeah, I think that's important.
When it comes to, so I want to maybe switch gears a little bit here. When it comes to sitting down in front of a client that they have not committed to working with you yet, you're in the exploratory stages of you guys learning each other, you figuring out if this is a right fit, if you are going to be able to provide them a service. Have you, maybe this is just totally made up in my mind, but have you come across an opportunity where your clients, even though they've maybe sought you out and they're kind of coming to you and you do have a good reputation so far, have you come across situations where clients have been resistant to maybe, I don't know, sharing certain details with you, or maybe even being upfront about what some of their goals and dreams really are? And whether or not you have, I guess, what would be your approach to overcoming that and helping people, again, whether it's work through their own thinking out loud or just kind of not be shy about telling you everything and them kind of trusting that you're not just going to take advantage of them.
Yeah, great question. And it does happen a lot. If we're investing money for people, or they're taking permanent life insurances or RESPs or RSPs, all those things require us by law to have a clear picture of what their financial situation is. So I can't actually get them the investments. I can't actually get them their RESP unless I have that information. And it's just to make sure that they're not over leveraging. It's to make sure that they're able to afford what they're saying that they're planning to put in there. Based on the risk level of the investment that they're putting it in. So it's important for me to have it. And I would say there's a lot of resistance sometimes from people. They're very private with their finances. There seems to be a generation.
Okay, I was going to ask. Yeah.
I think so. Where that generation is far more private with their finances and has a more difficult time sharing that with me. The younger the people I have, the more likely they'll just open up and tell me everything about everything they're invested in and all their finances.
Is that because they have less finance or what?
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but they're just like, they throw it out there. They don't mind. They're not worried about it. And I guess older people tend to have more investments in various different things, and but there seems to be more of a challenge in breaking that open. And the way to do it in the end is just, I need it. If you want me to do the thing that you've asked me to do, I actually just, by law, need this information. Number two, it's private, it's secure in a document. Nobody's ever going to read this thing. And I deal with tons of clients in a day. They give me piles of information, and truthfully, I'm not going to probably remember yours unless I'm actively working on your case. Like, I'm not going to remember that stuff because there's too many numbers that are constantly going everywhere. And eventually I may manage to crack that shell, and we talk about it.
That's good. Well, yeah, I would imagine so, or else your clients would be entirely made up of millennials and Gen Zs
Yes.
and people that have simpler financial situations, I suppose. But going back to balancing that, trying to help your clients find, a payment that they can make right now versus dreaming of or investing in working towards the future, however you want to look at it. How much of a struggle have you come up against? And maybe none at all, and that would be awesome probably, but how much of a struggle have you come up against trying to help someone understand that, the short term of just like, hey, making a quick payment right now is not the maybe most important aspect of their entire financial situation or their goals? Or maybe is it I don't know, I guess I'd be curious to know, does it vary a lot? Is there a subset of clients that the short term, what they can afford cash flow right now is the most important thing, and that's where you emphasize all of the priority and the goal? Is it always on the long term, and how allocating investments in different ways is going to benefit them in the long term? Like, how much is there a balance, I guess, between short-term goals, long-term goals, and, do clients lean a certain way? Do you have to pull them in a certain direction? How do you balance that? Because I imagine that that's a unique aspect of your job.
It depends a lot on what their financial situation is. So it's most important that they have shelter, they have food, they can provide for their family, they have some emergency funds. Like, that's the priority in all the cases. If you don't have that, well, don't get life insurance, don't invest, don't do things, get that sorted first. And so in that case, the amount of cash flow that they have is the most important thing that we have to deal with. And so then it's restructuring their debt and making things work out better for them. The more they have disposable cash, the more they are willing to look into long-term investments, and they should. And the younger you are, the more compounded interest, the better it goes in the future. So I always advise people that as early as possible, start investing, whatever that is. If it's $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever it is, start putting that in there, get in that habit. And as you go through your career, you'll likely start to grow the finances that you have generally, and you're able to input a bit more money as you go along. So to answer your question, it really just depends on their financial situation, their familial kind of status. Are they supporting a family, or are they living by themselves independently? And the age of the client also makes a difference. Yeah.
When clients approach you, I would imagine that maybe this is not true. Maybe I'll back up. Okay, I'll ask my question again. When people approach you, they might do it out of a multitude of reasons. One might be obligation, that someone that referred you said, hey, Calvin's a smart guy, and so they're emailing you, and maybe they just don't really know why. But my assumption is most people that reach out to you have some concept of what you do and how you might be able to help them. My question to you is, should only those people be seeking out investments, or do you think that investments is something that everyone should be doing no matter your age? Because you kind of mentioned there, if you're young, invest that money, compound interest, etc. Is that something that everyone of all ages should be doing, is looking at, RRSPs? Because I know for me, especially in my early 20s, starting to think about that when my wife Leanne and I sat down and we got life insurance for the first time. Retirement felt very, very far away, right? And I understood the general idea of compounding your money, but it still felt like such a far away thing. I remember thinking, I could be dead by then. Who knows? What does this really matter, right? Is investing in finance is something that everybody should be doing, and is there kind of a golden age of maybe when someone should start?
Everyone should be looking at investing. Absolutely. Whatever the amount that you can afford, it's important to get that started early, just to get in the habit of it. I found in my own life, I wasn't thinking about it very young, and I had other expenses, and I was enjoying the use of extra money in other ways. So I didn't do it. I wish I had at the time, but little bits at a time adds up over the years, and it forces a habit. And I think because I had the habit of not investing in the past, I continued that habit for quite a long time of not investing, and I missed out on a lot of years where it could have been good for me. And it's not necessarily in an RRSP. Like, I would actually probably suggest most people start in a TFSA and max that out, your tax-free savings account, and then start looking into an RRSP, unless there's a company match or there's some other benefit to it right there. And then when it's in a TFSA, you are actually able to take it out for emergencies and stuff, unlike an RRSP, which is a little more difficult to grab when you need it. So I would say everyone should be started with some sort of investments at some level inside of probably a TFSA.
Now, maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So if we're thinking, okay, the younger generation, everyone coming up who starts to come into money for the first time, maybe you've got your first job, you should be investing. Great. What I'm wondering about your experience as a financial professional, someone or a couple maybe, or a family that feels like they've missed the boat. So maybe they are a little bit older, maybe they have been in the workforce for maybe 1 to 2 to maybe 3 decades already. They don't have a ton of money maybe to their names. Maybe they've been faithfully paying towards their mortgage. Maybe their mortgage is slowly coming to an end, and they've got their house paid off, but they might not have a whole lot else besides that. So again, someone who feels like maybe they've missed the financial boat, is that still someone that should be looking at life insurance, RESPs, RRSPs, things like that? And kind of what would a financial professional do to try to help someone that feels like maybe they are too far gone and this is going to be a waste of effort?
Yeah, I guess my question is, like, what are your plans when you turn 65 and you're done working? What are you going to do? Like, where's the money coming from? And that's something you got to sort out. You do have to figure it out. And it's late in life at that point, but it's not too late. Like, I would say we call long time horizons as 5 to 10 years, usually when people want to invest their money. So if you're 50,
say that again. Explain this to me. Sorry, long time horizons. What does that mean?
So like how long you're planning to invest your money for dictates how much risk you're willing to do with the money, right? So there's higher fluctuations when you invest over long periods of time, because you know that you're going to get more money in the long run, and you're just going to weather the storm of the troughs that come. And so if you're in for 5 to 10 years, you're still able to invest in something that's pretty volatile, but comes up with a higher return. And so you'll see things at like 10% or 12% or 15% even in that case. And so if you're 55 and you still have 10 years left, so absolutely you should be investing in something that is more volatile, and I think it will benefit you in the long run. But you need to be looking for, what am I going to do when I turn 65?
Is it a thing? Do people do this And is it advisable maybe if I'm super young? So again, we'll say 22, I just graduated university, and say that I'm heading into some sort of career that seems like it'll provide a relative level of financial stability anyways. We'll assume that for the duration of my career in this hypothetical situation, I have the ability to contribute to whatever RESP, life insurance, what have you, or RRSP rather, consistently. Do you recommend to someone young just like crank the volatility and go crazy from the beginning? Do you recommend something that is more what's the opposite of volatile that I'm looking for? Like tame, smooth, and calm, safe.
I don't know.
Calm? Yeah. Like what kind of, I suppose, what level of risk do you recommend for young people versus people that are maybe again starting to invest later in life?
Yeah, the younger you are, the more willing you should be to invest in something that's riskier, more volatile. If you're going to have your money in something for the next 30 or 40 years and you're not planning to take it out, then yes. If there's a chance that you're putting money in and you want to take it out in the next year, the next 2 years, you need to be much more safe. It's all about how long is that money being put in for. And so the younger you are, the more you can weather the market through that. As you get older, you tend to want something that's got low volatility, that's got definite growth, that's guaranteed kind of things. You're looking at GICs and bonds and those kind of things instead.
Switching gears a little bit here. So thinking about marketing specifically as a financial professional, I imagine that, this, to me, this is what I love about marketing, is that it is as unique as whatever business or company it is that you are marketing. There's no one size fits all. There are a lot of commonalities in general, websites and social media and things like that are fairly common. Most companies will dip into those at least a bit, but you have kind of leveraged some of those and not leveraged others, at least yet. And I think that that's really interesting because it would maybe be counter to what a lot of people would think about what a business needs to be doing on the marketing side of things. So maybe just to begin with, because in full transparency, I was the one that helped you put together your website. That was one of the first things that we did together. I also took your headshots as well. But anyways, we'll put that aside. So your website, maybe kind of walk me through your website. Why was that a priority for you from kind of just a business sales marketing perspective? And what was kind of your philosophy around establishing a website?
Yeah, they need something to be able to go to after I've spoken with them, so that once I finish talking, that's not the end of the discussion. I need to give them something to go look at and to see further what I do. So I feel like I can talk to people, I can tell them, and then we continue on in conversation about other things, and they've forgotten all the stuff that I do. So I think it's important that they have a thing they can click on and a way to contact me from there. It's very simple to get to. It's my name, very easy, and it's just well designed and well put. Thank you, Aidan, for crushing that side of things.
Oh, shucks.
So I do think the website is it's sort of like a business card in some ways. It's like the next step after they've seen any of my social media is that they can go to that website to connect with business for me. And so that's how I see the website being used.
I like that. I know that when we put your website together, I'm thinking of maybe your about page specifically, but even kind of when we put together the page that talks about your different services, there was an intentional decision made to include things about you as a human being. So it wasn't just, suit and tie, I'm a professional, pay me lots of money, but it was a very, again, human approach to kind of explaining who you are. And I guess maybe, can you walk us through why was that so important to you? And is that, I would assume you would agree that that's maybe shifted over time, that it used to maybe be more formal. I'm thinking of our father-in-law. We are brothers-in-law, our wives, our sisters. He was a chartered professional accountant. He just retired. Congrats, Dad. I know, like, in the beginning of his career, wore suit and tie, like the whole thing, to work every day. And by the end, he was working at home, working from home, because times had shifted in, 30 some years of being a professional accountant. Well, more than that. I don't know how many years. Anyways, it's
lots of
years. Enough years. That it's shifted, right? So that personal aspect of your business I would assume has become more important. So can you maybe just quickly explain to me, why was including personal touches an important thing on your website? And why did you not just want to stick strictly professional? Here's the services I offer. Here's my phone number.
Yeah, it gives you depth. It makes you relatable to people. I'm not just a guy off of Suits or Mad Men who's trying to steal your money like everybody else. Like, there's something about, hey, this guy, he's got a wife, he's got a baby on the way, he's like a family-oriented person. I think that gives just an understanding of who I am a little bit further than what the standard website will be giving. So I think that's important for them to see that, yeah, I have a wife and a family. Yeah.
Well, this is what I've always believed about business in general, right? So especially when it comes to sales, because when it comes to sales and marketing too, it can be guilty of this. You often think of, okay, I need to sell the benefits of working with this particular company, right? So you obviously work with a financial group, and that's where you've gotten your start and kind of where you've trained under and gotten your hands dirty. And it would be easy to talk about, oh yeah, here are all the great reasons to work with this particular brokerage, right? But you've instead kind of leaned into like, hey, here's me as a human being, and here's how I approach these things. And I think what salespeople need to remember, and what marketers need to remember, at the end of the day, people buy from people. And so taking the time to explain who you are, what makes you unique, and what makes you unique might just be the way that you approach business or the way that you think about it. But taking the time to put that into your marketing is so important now, as opposed to just strictly being purely professional and here's the service I offer, and that's about it, and take it or leave it, right? I think that, making that kind of revealing the face behind the name, and really kind of, showing people that you are, exactly like you said, a family man. You have a wife, you have kids, you have hobbies and interests and things that you have done or do outside of work. I think that that's hugely beneficial to building trust with your clients, especially when you're doing it over a website, when you're not doing it in person. Because I meet you in person, we run into each other at the coffee shop, I'm going to like you very quickly and like you right away. But a website and any form of kind of digital marketing is inherently sort of cold and disconnected. And so there's this barrier that you have to overcome in order to make people feel comfortable with you. And that just comes full circle to building trust and utilizing all the different avenues available to you to do that, right? Speaking of utilizing all the different avenues available to you, social media specifically is something I would love to pick your brain about, because, correct me if I'm wrong, you have not used social media a whole lot in your business so far. Is that true to say?
That's very true. And part of that is due to me being a teacher turned into a salesman in some ways, and I'm not used to what that market looks like. I'm not used to having to sell myself to chase the dollar. So like, those are things that I'm learning. So I don't have much right now. I have a Facebook account that I'm trying to leverage at the moment.
Yep.
And beyond that, most of my business has come through referrals, and that's kept me busy right now. But I am starting to look to the future and thinking, how do I get this out further beyond just this small group of people that are looking at my little profile?
Well, what I think is the important thing there is, you're talking about kind of the differences between a short-term marketing plan and a long-term marketing plan, right? So your short-term marketing plan, and this is true for most people doing business. If you are searching for your first client, you probably already know your first client. They are somewhere in your contact list or your friends list on Facebook. That all it will take is for you to say, hey, I do this thing, I sell this service, and more than likely you're going to win that business because they know you, they like you, they inherently trust you, which again has been a major theme of what we've been talking about today. And it's going to be a much easier sale for you, right? When you start to shift into long-term marketing tactics and you are selling to people that don't know you quite as well, it becomes that much more important to exactly maximize your website, your social media, any sort of online presence that you have in order to build trust when it can't be you personally building trust one-on-one with someone, right? And I think that that's a very interesting shift that kind of happens in the lives of business people and salespeople, as you said, right? When it comes to social media specifically, do you have any inclinations towards what social media platforms are going to be the most important to you. So you mentioned Facebook, and I think that that's interesting because a lot of young people who are, starting a business for the first time are thinking, okay, TikTok's a really big one. And, are you brushing up on your dance skills, Calvin? And do you think that you're going to have to learn all these new hip dances in order to make the rounds on social media? Or are you kind of thinking through, and I know you haven't tested a lot of this yet, but at least just kind of your philosophy behind it. Do you think that there's maybe a different way to approach social media that is less about being trendy and more about, again, helping people and trying to actually make a difference there?
The one benefit I think there is to Facebook at the moment is there's older generations on it, and so it appeals to those older people. And I think a lot of my business right now is coming from people who are 40 years old, 50 years old, that kind of market. And so I think that's where Facebook has the advantage at the moment. Other than that, like my next steps, I'm just going to speak to my marketing manager about that, who is able to create websites and knows exactly the direction to go, Mr. Aidan Hennebry over here. But I personally am not sure which direction to head off of this after this.
Well, and I think all of that just highlights, an implicit theme of what we've been talking about, if you will, of, not to toot my own horn, but calling in a professional when you don't know what you're doing and taking advice and working together to establish goals. And I think this is why I love talking about business and sales and marketing, because what you do and what I do in terms of learning the goals of our customers, helping people, that is the same across all sales and marketing, no matter where you are. It's the output of that, and what does that look like? That's what kind of varies from person to person. And, again, what avenues you want to use. And for me, that's just one of the most fun parts about marketing and sales in general is, okay, here's this plethora of tools available to me. How do I utilize this to maximize the impact for my client, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would tell you that you don't need to brush up on your dance skills. I don't think that that's going to be a great way to do it. But you mentioned Facebook, and one thing I'll just kind of quickly slip in here, because I think that this is slept on for a lot of people. Facebook groups are becoming a really big deal right now. Facebook, by and large, the Facebook audience is exactly as you've said. It's an older generation, right? Young Gen Zers and Gen Alpha, younger generation still. Don't use Facebook, certainly not in the same way. And I think that the older generations that are on there, if your client base is predominantly an older generation, then using Facebook to your advantage is something you should be doing. So don't just look at what is hip and cool right now, but look at where is my audience and how do I actually reach them where they're at? Where does my audience hang out online and how can I put myself there? So Facebook is a really good one, and Facebook groups specifically are really good, and Facebook is pushing them, and so there's lots of opportunity there because Facebook groups keep people coming back. It ups engagement. It starts conversation threads and people helping each other. And you really, create this for, kind of, to use an overused term, this online community, this micro community that is helping each other. And so it even helps you as a business person because, of course, you're the expert. You run the group. You are the administrator there. But it creates this opportunity that your clients can be helping each other, which is really cool. So Facebook groups might be something that me and you discuss at some point in the future. Cool. But anywho, that's maybe something we'll hold on to for now. But I'm sure sooner or later we'll be there. Maybe just as we slowly start to wrap this thing up, I guess I would love to have you kind of talk more about the financial professional side of what you do and how that impacts families, and maybe, families and being a family man yourself, being close to your heart, kind of what is helping people in such a personal way. What is that like for you? Is that something that you really enjoy? Is that just kind of a unique aspect of what you do and it is what it is? Is it part of what got you into this? Like what, again, that kind of family aspect, how much does that play into what you do and maybe your sense of drive and motivation in what you do?
Yeah, helping families is 100% the motivation. There's, of course, what I was talking about earlier about time, work balance that this job gives me, and being able to schedule my own things. That's probably the thing that pushed me into it. But now that I'm into it, I recognize that I love that I can help families get into better financial positions, that their kids can go to university because they did a great job investing in an RESP earlier. They can retire with a comfortable income because they've started investing through that. All of that is kind of exciting to me, that it's helping families. It's less about taking money for a life insurance policy. It's more about like, what can I do to put you in a better financial position?
That is super cool. I imagine very gratifying and very motivating to make you happy to get out of bed every day and genuinely want to help people. That when you can see the connection between what you do and how that's going to benefit people a long time from now, that is a really, really unique aspect of your work specifically, right? I think there's some quote out there on the internet, I don't know, someone smart said it, something about like, you know that your society is a good one, or maybe it's you as a human being or something, when you have the desire to plant trees whose shade you will never get to enjoy. Something along those lines. I apologize to anyone who knows the quote that I'm butchering, but I think that there's an element to that in what you do, right? Because there's, I don't know, maybe a chance that 20, 30, 40 years from now, some of these people that you're helping out today, you may have lost touch with, or they may go elsewhere, or any multitude of things could happen, right? But I think using your opportunity today with the tools that you have right now to help people, to push them in the right direction, regardless, again, of whether that's going to benefit you immediately or not, that's a really unique and cool aspect of what you do. And I really like that. And it makes it really fun to hear about all the different clients that you work with and the different ways that you're able to help people, because you are a good dude, and I like that. So maybe just the last thing as we wrap up here, anyone listening to this that, again, they know you're moving into a new direction with your career, someone that might want to help you but maybe doesn't know how, we'll assume that if they have a financial situation with their investments, whatever they're happy with, so aside from just giving you business, I guess, how can people out there help you today when it comes to growing your business?
Yeah, getting my name out there, just passing that on. My job right now is just to get as many people as I can just to know what I'm doing. And when the moment comes for them, where they're starting to think about an RESP or life insurance, that they've heard my name from somebody else, and they can start thinking, oh, I'll contact Calvin. Look at my website, see what it has on it, see what I do. If you want to come have a meeting with me, I'll just explain the stuff that I do, and you can pass that on to whoever else needs it. But just getting my name out there is the best way to help me right now.
That's good. We've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about a lot of different things in regards to financial advice. Maybe the final question I'll ask you is, for anyone listening to this episode who is starting to think about investing their money, or they're listening to this Calvin guy, they're like, wow, this guy knows a couple things about this, and maybe I should actually start taking my financial situation more seriously. What is the single piece of advice, if you could only give someone one piece of advice, they forget everything else they heard in this episode, what one thing would you want someone to walk away with that would potentially be the biggest benefit to them going forward to make the most of their financial situation, kind of regardless of where they're at right now?
Make sure that you have your food, shelter, emergency funds kind of sorted. And then when you have extra money, make sure some of it you're having fun with, but you're always starting to build a habit of investing into the things that matter. I would say that.
I love that. That habit is really good, right? You talked about trying to unlearn bad habits before, and so establishing good habits from when you're young is advisable.
For sure.
Maybe we'll say. Cool. Calvin, this has been so much fun. Thanks for being on the show, and I think it would be fascinating maybe in 6 months or a year from now to revisit this and kind of see where you're at, and especially sales, marketing, business, kind of what has happened in the past year, and this would be a fun one to revisit. So let's do this again sometime, eh?
Thanks for having me, Aidan.
And that is our episode. Once again, thank you so much for listening in today. If you haven't yet, head to amplifyr.ca and get signed up for the Amplifyr Report, which is our weekly email newsletter that covers new podcast episodes and all kinds of exclusive content around marketing, sales, business, and more. Until then, we'll catch you in the next one.